This is Science Coast with Mallory Havens and
Chris White.
And today our guests again are
Carmen Arellano
and Rapp.
Today we're going to be continuing our conversation about St. Augustine College. In the past year, St. Augustine College and LewisUniversity have joined forces. And one of the exciting things in my mind is that, as a physicist, I'm going to use this word, the institutions are a little bit orthogonal. We have served traditionally different populations. And so what I would like to talk about today is the population of students that St. Augustine has been serving and will be serving into the future, and the challenges that those students actually face, which are unique and distinct. So, Carmen, can you talk to us about the population of students that St. Augustine serves?
Well, we serve co-ed population. Back when I started, back in the 70s, the good majority were male students, but slowly, very slowly, or more rapidly, it grew to be inclusive of female. So that is the population that we serve. Again, bilingual students. Our students can begin their education in Spanish, taking courses in Spanish, and then slowly transition to bilingual with English texts. They can still write in Spanish and talk to their professors in Spanish or read text in English. And by the time you graduate, it's all English and ready to continue their education. And pretty much, I really don't want to say that the majority are female, but yeah, about 85% at this point, 85% are female.
Are the challenges primarily language, or are there cultural issues that need to be addressed as well, especially if we're talking about female populations?
Well, right now we serve a diverse population. We are very multicultural. We have a lot of Southeast Asian students in our respiratory therapy. So students are attracted to their interests, their ability, their skills. The majority of females are attracted to the social sciences, such as early childhood education, psychology, social work, and more of the male population are attracted to CIS, management. Respiratory, I see a good 50-50 in our respiratory program. I forgot your other question. You did say.
Well, I was just curious about the support structures that might be necessary for St. Augustine students, so to facilitate their ability to attend college.
Mm-hmm. It's ongoing. The support that we have, it's ongoing. A lot of our students can come and just, as we mentioned earlier, take their GED and then slowly transition. They become attracted to obtaining certificates, to obtaining a associate's degree, and they begin to fall in love with the institution, with their careers, with what they want to do, and take baby steps, and then proceed with a bachelor's degree.
But it sounds like there's a culture at St. Augustine. If you're going to fall in love with an institution, it sounds like you're falling in love with a culture, and that's embedded within the people who work there. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, a good majority of our staff are alumni of the same institution. And it's funny that you're saying that, Chris, because here at Lewis, I attended a retreat in September, early October, and I learned that St. Augustine once said, "We are what we love. We do what we love." And I think that many of us at St. Augustine College currently, especially those of us who are alumni, we are an example of that. If we are there, it's because we are doing what we love to do. And thanks to St. Augustine and thanks to the retreat here at Lewis, I learned what St. Augustine once said, and we are demonstrating that.
So it seems like a lot of your programs focus on very applicable to careers. So career preparation, is that correct?
Yes. And I can let my colleague and Rapp talk about the next.
Yes, but and what you'll find is that there's also the liberal learning that is integrated as well. Though there are associates of arts, associates of science, associates of applied science, and baccalaureate degrees, Bachelor of Arts and Bachelor of Science. So that means it's very similar to the Lewis mission in terms of professional and liberal.
Okay.
What about age profiles? Because we've been talking a little bit about gender profiles, but are these traditional students who are coming out of high school and coming to St. Augustine?
Oh, this is an excellent question. I love this. Our pillars at St. Augustine College, our two pillars are non-traditional students. For many years, we have served the non-traditional, as I mentioned earlier, the working parent, the working single mother, even fathers. And what helped the most was having that daycare center. But now we have transitioned to a lot of traditional students who also want to begin their education or continue their education. But primarily, we have served the non-traditional. And as a professor, I love teaching the non-professional adult student because in many ways, as we are teaching them, we are learning from them. We are learning from their students. There's so much they want to share, or at least in a psychology class. They every chapter that they learn, they're ready to share. They're ready to share, or at least that's how it was in an in-person learning.
It's the same in online learning too, because adults want to make what they're studying relevant, or they see how it's relevant to their life experience. It's different if you're reading maybe about child development and you have a child at home and you've witnessed this in your own parenting, right? Versus thinking of it maybe abstractly or reflecting on your own childhood if you are coming of age still, if you're in the traditional student. Though one of the things, a question for you too, Carmen, is because we've seen this in the adult programs at Lewis as well, is that the age profile is lower. So we're seeing more and more students who are coming in, and they are not the majority, just to be clear, but who are 21 to 25, for instance. And what we're seeing is that younger people have adult responsibilities. And by that, I mean must have a full-time job, married, or have children, or are responsible caregivers for others in their family. And so they cannot do the traditional college experience. They cannot go to school during the day, for instance. They cannot take a full course load. And so we've really broadened the way we review student applications in the School of Graduate, Professional, and Continuing Education to take into account the changes in what constitutes a non-traditional student. And it is a broad definition and a really big discussion university-wide, right? We could say our traditional students, there's a segment of our traditional students who are full-time at Lewis who are non-traditional in actuality because of the responsibilities in their lives.
And many of our students, they hold more than one job, sometimes are to 3 jobs, because then you are so correct in saying they are not only have responsibilities as a family with their own children, but they also have to send money to their countries of origin. Culturally, your extended family are part of your family, and if you move to the U.S., it's your social responsibility to continue sending money and caring and supporting those you left behind. And sometimes, as I mentioned, their extended family, such as my godmother, my godfather, they are your family. So yes, a lot of our students, it's not unusual for them to have up to 3 jobs.
So quick, I'm going to lean into my science background a little bit here. It's been known that the brains of human beings continue to develop past the age of 21. So traditional college students show up out of high school 18, 19 years old, and then will attend college for 4 years. And when they graduate, their brains are still developing. Yet an adult student is coming back, say, later in their 20s or 30s or potentially even later 40s. Their brains have fully developed. So does that impact how we have to organize and deliver college courses for this population?
If I can make an attempt to respond to to your question, Chris, something that I've seen not only with myself but with my students, that many of our working parents, when we were teaching all in person, being in the classroom, those 3 hours a day for one course, that was probably the only opportunity and the only chance you had. So whatever you grab, whatever your brain grabbed for those 3 hours, that was it. Because once you got home, you have 4 or 5 kids to take care of. You need to be up at 5 o'clock, 4:30 in the morning to go to work at 6 o'clock in the morning. And many times, perhaps the weekends, culturally, you spend it with your in-laws, or else. So it's not your typical, like myself, I spend my weekend, Saturday and Sunday, I'm writing, I'm studying. But for many of our students, your in-laws, they're still your family, and you spend the weekend with them. You go to church, and then you go to see your in-laws. So those 3 hours in class perhaps is the only time that you have for quality learning and to prepare for a quiz, for an exam. So it's a good question that you're bringing up. How old is the brain when those 3 hours is the only quality of time of learning and retaining?
So this may be a place where Carmen and I, we friendly disagreement a little bit, in that I do agree that there's nothing like the bubble of the classroom to set aside all of those other distractions in your life and be able to focus on learning. But I do think that what's special about adult learners, and I can't speak to brain development, but is that they have accomplished so much in their own lives that they are bringing knowledge based on experience into that classroom. And really the difference is that relevancy of what they're studying and learning is even more important to them than it is to a student who is coming to school straight out of high school. So they need to know why they're learning what they're learning and why it matters in their goals, their career goals, or the field, etc.
It probably helps too, because to learn new information, you have to relate it to information you already know.
Yeah.
And the more information from life experience, it might be easier to take some of those concepts, because sometimes my references are starting to get dated in the classroom because students don't even know what long distance calls are.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, well.
A cassette.
Yeah.
A record.
Yeah, I was referring to CDs the other day, and I was like, oh, they just stream everything. Yeah. So, but having like that vast array of knowledge from life experience gives you more connection and touch points for you to relate course content to what you already know to help you learn. But also, to your point, Anne, if you're teaching them something and they don't see the purpose of knowing that information, then there's less of an investment in it probably.
Mm-hmm. And my experience has always been that older students have an ability to make connections that younger students don't. And, the part of the brain that develops last is the one that has mature decision-making ability.
I'm still working on that.
I know. But I've absolutely seen this in the classroom, where a student who is a little bit older is able to make connections much more quickly and see, oh, yes, this is connected to this, this is connected to this, and this is why we're studying it. Whereas the younger students, it just seems like they're, from their perspective, they're being given random pieces of information that they need to understand, and they don't know how it all plugs together.
Is this going to be on the test?
But older students seem to be able to put that together much quicker and much easier.
Can I say something about modality as well? And, I think that there's the opportunity even in online synchronous and online asynchronous, which is when you're never in real time interacting in a classroom. All the interaction online is asynchronous, in other words, at different times, not the same time. There is that opportunity with really intensive engagement on the part of the instructor and the students, where you can recreate that bubble that is the classroom. It's not easy. It requires a lot of dedication and planning, but it's possible.
I would say that one of the beauties that we have at St. Augustine is our learning facilitators. Mm-hmm. Our learning facilitators are a combination of counselors, financial counselors, assistants. So they become everything to the student, and the student can connect with their learning facilitator. We have learning facilitators for our different programs, and the learning facilitator works the path, the journey of learning, and is, particularly more important to the adult learner, that technology might still cause a difficulty. If I have a question about technology, I just go to a 4-year-old, and I know I know a 4-year-old will solve, all my phone problems. So these learning facilitators provide that support to that adult student who might still be afraid of technology, pushing the wrong button. So that's one of our beauty of our learning facilitators, and not just learn from them. Last week, how this remote learning is so advantageous for our students in Elgin, in Crystal Lake, in Aurora. We used to have a campus in Aurora. Now our division, IWE, uses that building. And but we have students from Joliet that can study and continue their education. Nonetheless, I guess, as an older student, I still love the in-person, but I see the benefits of remote learning.
That's a good point. It's it enables access in a way that wouldn't otherwise be possible.
Where the impossible becomes very possible.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you guys. And with that, the views, thoughts, and opinions expressed are the speaker's own and do not represent the views, thoughts, and opinions of Lewis University. The material and information presented here is for general information purposes only. The Lewis University name and all forms and abbreviations are the property of its owner, and its use does not imply endorsement of or opposition to any specific organization, product, or service. This podcast was produced in the WLRA podcast studios at Lewis University. Visit lewisu.edu for more information about Lewis University. This has been Science Coast with Mallory Havens and
Chris White
and
Carmen Arellano
and
And Rapp.
thank you.